What's going on, everybody? It's Kellen Nitro from Nitromaniac TV's wrestling channel, and here is my take, Nitro's take, on the WWE Super Showdown, which took place on October 6, 2018 from the Melbourne Cricket Ground in Melbourne, Australia. So just quickly, if you stumbled upon this video and this is your first time checking out my channel, this is my take or my opinions on the card itself. So we'll go front to back. I'll tell you what I liked about each match and what I didn't like about each match. This isn't a review per se, but just more of a kind of a, sit down and let's hash out the card type thing. Opening match, The New Day, Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods, their speed alignment, if you believe their commentary, took on Cesaro and Sheamus for the SmackDown Live Tag Team Championship. The New Day defeated Cesaro and Sheamus the Bar to retain the belts. Nothing special here. This was basically something that you could see on SmackDown every Thursday night, and that's pretty much all I'm going to say. Next match was a little bit more heated. You had Charlotte Flair versus Becky Lynch for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Charlotte Flair beat Becky Lynch, but by disqualification. They're amping up towards, of course, the big match at Evolution, which I think will be the blow-off to this whole thing. Charlotte's 1-1, Becky's 1-1. Trilogy's going thirds, right? So I'm recording this Monday night right after Raw went off the air. So I anticipate it'll be some sort of, I don't want to say gimmick match, but some sort of blow-off type match. Like maybe there'll be a steel cage involved, or maybe it's falls count anywhere, or no disqualification, or something along those lines for the women's title. Because you're looking at that as potentially a semi-main for that card. I mean, there's going to be anticipated matches being announced and that stuff, but with them combining now, it seems the two singles matches on the card into a tag match that was already previously announced, where you got Alexa Bliss and Mickie James versus Trish and Lita, and those were supposed to be singles matches before Trish and Alexa going one-on-one, Lita and Mickie James going one-on-one. This here it kind of screams to me that this will be their second last match on the card, or maybe the last match of the night on the card, because I don't think they'd throw Ronda in the main event spot just quite yet. So I think they're building up for that to be the main event of the entire pay-per-view. Bobby Lashley and John Cena defeating Elias and Kevin Owens. Again, nothing that really would be special to see, outside of Raw, like on a weekly television show. Like this was almost the same exact pacing. I think the best bit was a preamble leading into the match itself with Elias and Kevin Owens. Those segments have been on fire the past couple of weeks, and easily one of the hottest things about WWE's programming. You saw it in Seattle, you saw it here in Melbourne, and those easily have been the best bits of the angle going forward. But as it stands right now, again, another match, nothing really special about. But it did end up potentially being Lashley's last match as a face for a long time, because I don't want to say the next night on Raw, but on the Monday night after Raw, this event aired early Saturday morning on North American televisions and that stuff for the network. We saw Lashley, with the help of Lio Rush, start a heel campaign on Monday Night Raw. So a heel turn with Lashley. That's going to be very interesting going forward. Plus, it kind of makes sense with Lio Rush as the hype man / manager, kind of being annoying outside the ring throughout the entire match and that stuff, and Lashley just being a big power heel going forward. This could be something that somewhere down the line could end up with probably an Intercontinental title run for Lashley, I think. But it's a reboot, but I've still kind of head scratched about it, because I still think there was a lot for him to do as a face with Rush as the hype man as well. So who knows? Huge ovation for the Iconics as they defeated Asuka and Naomi in a tag team match. The hometown crowd, home country crowd, not necessarily hometown, but home country crowd, was well behind their girls. They got cheered, and you know what? If they're heels on SmackDown for one night, they were faces with the crowd, and they were the face in the match, and it really didn't matter. So that I have no problem with that. That's fine. That is supremely cool. I enjoyed that a lot. Just how far has Asuka fallen? That's about it. It's just, remember when she was the unstoppable juggernaut? We all do. And man. It's just a long, long way from that right now. I don't know what they're going to do to rebuild her, but hopefully it comes sooner rather than later. I think now she's become kind of like the Becky Lynch, or the Becky Lynch position on SmackDown, as in, not the whipping boy, but the whipping girl of the women's division. It's like, let's put out a credible name for them to beat so that somebody else can build up some momentum, right? So then again, who knows? They might be building towards something down the line. But Asuka, where art thou? 6-woman tag match: the Bella Twins, Nikki and Brie Bella, and Ronda Rousey taking on the Riott Squad. This, you know what? It's going to sound really corny out of this, but this was as close to WWE having a New Japan style 6-man tag match where everybody gets the equal time in the ring and everybody showcases their ability, as you're going to see. I thought with all 6 in there, it was perfect execution. You had an established storyline going into this with the teams, and it showed in the ring. Like the ring work wasn't the best. Like, we're not talking, obviously Japanese strong style here. We're talking WWE sports entertainment style, but it was credible. It was decent, and in the ending, the double arm bar by Rousey was a jaw dropper. That was one spot that everybody's mouth dropped. Nikki Bella doing, I guess, the tongue claw on Liv Morgan during the match. It's established. They're trying to take something that organically happened a few weeks ago and potentially build up towards something bigger down the line, I guess, singles wise, with Liv and Brie, even though it was Nikki in the ring when that happened. I mean, you put the association together and that stuff, and you might have something. Now, of course, that's been shelved because the next night on Raw, you have the Bellas turning on Ronda Rousey, potentially leading towards, I think it's Nikki Bella versus Ronda Rousey. It might be even a 2-on-1 at Evolution for the Raw Women's title, if they can pull it out in some kayfabe or storyline way to have the handicap match work. But I think the rumored match is Nikki Bella versus Ronda Rousey for the Raw Women's title. And, it's sound booking for this time of year. Don't forget, this is the quiet period of the year. We're not going to get anything super huge until January again. So, go forth. Well, unless you're a male competitor and heading to Saudi Arabia, then, there's going to be weird and wackiness from the seniors tour, but we'll talk about that later on. Next match actually flip-flopped the order. This came before the 6-woman tag, but AJ Styles versus Samoa Joe finally getting the blow-off to their feud that they deserve. That was match of the night. That was an excellent encounter between Joe and Styles. Styles retains the title. I enjoyed this match a lot. Finally, they give AJ a run with the belt and an opponent, and it's not ending up in low blows, and the opponent, turning heel for whatever reason and acting strange by low blowing everybody. Sorry, Shinsuke, but that's what happened. But this feud was given time to develop, and the writing and the script work behind it and all the creative, it fit. Everything was flawless. Everything just got at you from SummerSlam on to the end of Super Showdown. This was credible. So now AJ moves on to meet the number 1 contender, who is either going to be Daniel Bryan or The Miz, but we'll get to that one a little later on. But this match was my favorite out of the entire card. It was match of the night, in my opinion. Cruiserweight title on the line, and it was the only title that changed hands as Buddy Murphy wins the Cruiserweight title on his home soil against Cedric Alexander. This match was pretty good. This was a very decent, I would think it's the best Cruiserweight match since WrestleMania between Ali and Alexander. Alexander had a great match with Buddy Murphy. Guaranteed there's going to be a rematch between the two of them later on. I wouldn't mind seeing it at a pay-per-view. Maybe fingers crossed that it ends up at this Crown Jewel thing in Saudi Arabia, or even better at Survivor Series. That would be really good. But, told an amazing story in the ring, was solid match from front to back. And yeah, the crowd was firmly behind Murphy. So would love to see, actually would love to see these guys go at it on neutral ground. So maybe this is saved for Crown Jewel, where they have the rematch. And hopefully the 205 guys book it that way, because, man, that's pretty good. Not too shabby. 6-man tag from the Raw side up next, where you had the Shield of Ambrose, Reigns, Rollins taking on Strowman, Ziggler, and McIntyre. And this was all interwoven with the storyline of, will Ambrose turn on the Shield and is potentially joining forces with Strowman, Ziggler, and McIntyre. Shield got the win in the match, got the huge crowd pop, and stuff destroyed all around ringside and everything. This was, as much of a no disqualification fight as the AJ Styles Samoa Joe match was. I thought, again, decent pace for a Raw main event. Nothing overly spectacular, nothing overly special out of this one. I thought that the next night on Raw was a better match, the rematch between it, because now you're establishing in a overwhelming belief with the crowd at the end of it that, hey, both sides could lose somebody here and they could form their own team. Ziggler's getting pawned off as the weak link on his side, and then you have Ambrose getting kind of pegged by the opposition side as the weak link, in the Shield, because he doesn't have the belt and he's just coming off of injury, whatever the storyline is. So I anticipate maybe something brewing there. Whether they pull the trigger on it or not is anybody's choice. But for Roman, it's back to singles stuff, because he's got that triple threat match for the Universal title coming up in Saudi Arabia. And you got probably something with the Intercontinental title with Rollins. And maybe we see a Ambrose-Ziggler match in Saudi Arabia. We saw it at SummerSlam a few years ago. It was pretty good. Or maybe we see Ambrose-McIntyre. I don't really see the Raw Tag Team titles on the line in Saudi Arabia at all. I think that they might split up and get 2 one-on-one matches out of that, team or tandem. Number 1 contendership match for the WWE Championship was a disappointment, in my opinion. Daniel Bryan defeating The Miz. I would have loved to see these guys put out a 20-25 minute showstopper. That didn't happen. It was more of a Daniel Bryan surprise squash in 6 or 7 minutes. Actually, not even. The official time is 2 minutes and 25 seconds on Wikipedia and other sites. Not a lot to add to that, except it's a disappointment. Would love to see these guys go longer, do more in the ring. But I think that rivalry has been kind of set aside now, because, again, Saudi Arabia coming up, AJ Styles versus Daniel Bryan for the WWE title. And I don't think that there's any way that can disappoint. However, they have done disappointing things with Styles' opponents over on SmackDown earlier this year in big shows. Nakamura at WrestleMania, for example. So the precedent's been set, but I don't know. We'll see. And the matchup on the Seniors Tour. just kidding. But Triple H defeating The Undertaker. This was, setting up what was going to happen at Crown Jewel or Survivor Series or somewhere down the line. You could see it kind of shaping in weeks advance to this. So I'm just kind of enjoying the ride with this storyline a little bit. DX reforming on Raw the next night is a great, addition to this storyline, because, now we know that they're going to be united. Now what's going to happen is, are we going to see Kane and The Undertaker show up on Raw and, drop a few bodies and that stuff? 1000th episode of SmackDown's coming up in 2 weeks. Does Evolution get involved? Who knows, right? So just bringing all these old names out of the past for a pay-per-view pop. Nothing like WCW logic, right? But again, the Saudi shows are different, because it's what the government of Saudi Arabia wants to see on their shows, and not so much what Vince McMahon wants, because the government of Saudi Arabia is paying a lot of money for WWE to come in. We've talked about this, myself and Morehouse, I should say, at length about this in the past. So go back earlier in the channel's history and that stuff, and check out our Greatest Royal Rumble Nitro's take. I think that happened at the end of April, beginning of May. and sit through it. We talk about some of the varieties of factors and stuff like that, and it's low, it's sleazy, but it's business, and unfortunately, business is what business is. So, anyways, my total rating from front to back of the Super Showdown show from Melbourne, Australia, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. A very watchable card, even if you do the whole thing where you watch it in little bits like I do and I know some other people do. You can easily get through this card. It's easily digestible. Just don't look for anything overly remarkable coming off of it, if that makes sense. I think the big takeaway out of it will be Styles and Bryan from the WWE title, which is thumbs up from this cowboy. He loves it. And obviously the seeds planted for Taker and Kane versus DX. So, and I can't believe in 2018, going into 2019, we're talking about DX as a faction again, going into another pay-per-view. But the wacky world of WWE just keeps rolling along. I'm Kellen Nitro, Later Days. If you like this, you know what to do. And I'll talk to you guys next time. Thanks again for spending some time with me. And see ya. Later Days. Happy wrestling watching.